Good evening, friends, families. Welcome to another evening of Across the Diaspora with myself. And as you can see, I have a guest on this evening, Brother Trumikas Mohammed. He's been on before, but for those of you who may be new, in a few minutes, I'll ask him to reintroduce himself. So I'm just going to give a few seconds for folks to join. Um, Please indicate if by chance you are not hearing me. If by chance you're not hearing me, let me know. Again, I set it up myself, proud of myself. But welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to have another interesting discussion along the about the movie Woman King. So I'm really excited. I know there are quite a few people who are eager to be a part of this conversation and to share their thoughts. Speaking of which, I will copy. I have to share this link with someone who has requested to join the conversation. So I will be doing so now. Um, we're one second. I'm just having everybody join. Don't mind Brother Chimikas. He is sharing the link as we speak into a few groups, and we will get started. Um, but I just want to share the link to someone who wants to join the conversation. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I see you joining in. Thank you for joining us for another conversation this evening on Across the Diaspora. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna have to come closer. Alrighty. Sorry, guys. Want to make sure that I send the person the link so they can join when they're ready. There we go. Okay, all set. All right. Okay, so let me know when you're ready, Brother Shamikas. But before we get started, I want to first of all um, thank everyone who attended the screening, the private screening that we held last week. Was it last week on the 17th? Almost 2 weeks already. Ooh, time goes by really fast. So I want to thank everyone who attended, everyone who helped to make it happen. It was really a really good experience. It was an example of what it feels like and what it means to have a cultural experience around something as symbolic as the Woman King. Whether we necessarily agree with the movie or not, right? The essence of what the movie was culturally in and of itself um, is significant, and so it was really a joy to see so many of us show up in the space, all dressed up, full of anticipation and energy as we, yeah, showed up for the movie. And, I can say that being in that space was completely different from sitting in a space in a typical movie theater where, the audience is much broader and much more diverse. So you will see the pictures on my Facebook page. I posted them about an hour or two ago. So there's just a few pictures of just to give an idea of what the evening was like. So it was definitely a good event. And again, thank you for everyone who attended. And thank you to everyone who participated and helped to make this happen. So, the drummers, the models, the team, Yeah, Brother Tremikas, the Phoenix Local Organizing Committee, and everybody who, show their support in every way that they can. So truly, truly grateful for that. This is something that I personally commit to is providing and coordinating culturally rich events in the valley because it is something that it's needed and desired, and in a time like this where we're seeing, interestingly enough, movies, right? Movies, and that's really catering to and geared towards our culture and heritage. With the rise of Afrobeats music, I had a conversation with someone today. I think she is joining because she said she'll be joining today, and she's saying being African is becoming popular, and I totally agree with that. Compared to when I first moved to Arizona, right? The African culture was definitely not as strong as it is now. So thanks to Afrobeats and the work that everyone is doing in the valley in their own way, in their own space, is really, really leaving an imprint of the Afrocentric culture and lifestyle. And so to be a part of this energy is really exciting. So there's definitely more to come. Definitely we have more stuff up in our sleeves, and that we are working towards. So if you missed the private screening last week on the 17th, 2 weeks ago, please keep a lookout, because we'll be announcing more exciting projects and events for you to join. So you will be more than welcome. Now, so we're going to get into today's discussion. We did look, as it was just mentioned, at the movie. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. This is not going to be so much like an interview, Brother Trimikis. We're going to do more of a discussion.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Okay.
So, I think we're going to I think for the most part, we agree on many things, but I want to approach it from a male female perspective,
Mhm.
right? From a male female perspective, um, and how what we took away from the movie, right? Um, our thoughts of the movie going into it, right? Because based on the marketing, based on the title, based on the trailer, we had our own perception. Some of us more than others, and so we walked into the space with some thoughts of what we thought we were going to see.
Mhm.
And so we're going to talk about what those perceptions were, right? We're going to talk about the viewing, how we felt, and what's the takeaway of
Okay.
a couple days later. What's the takeaway from the movie and lessons to be learned? So I think I'm going to start. I'm going to start by saying that because I did a show prior to seeing the movie, it was more so about the history. And going into the movie, I did have the expectation that it was going to be much more of a historical, historically based movie, right? That showed more of actual events. Um, I was really excited about seeing the role of the Warriors. Oh, before I continue, are we not disclosing since there
Oh,
may be
that's a difficult
people
one.
because
It's been 2 weeks, y'all. You ain't been.
I know. Well, it is.
We gotta be
Um,
careful, you know.
it's launching
Gotta be-
back home in Guyana on the 30th. Oh, in three
Oh,
days.
okay. Well, we have to.
We'll try to dance around it
Yeah.
as much as possible. Yes, we will try to not. We're not gonna give out like giveaway stuff. We're not gonna say, well, this person did this.
We'll see.
We're gonna talk more about our feelings and responses because you can go online and you will see the controversy around it and what people are saying. It's out there.
Mhm.
It's out there. So we're going to give our opinion on that
Okay.
as much as we can.
Okay.
Forgive us if we disclose too much, but I promise you, it doesn't matter what we say. I think
You should still see it.
you should still see it. You have to. You have
We're
to.
only going to give you a piece of it.
Yes, yes, you. There's no way in which you'll be able to really get the full scope of the movie by listening to someone else. I've learned that by the things I've been looking at today. Woo! All right. So, do you want to go ahead? What were your thoughts
Oh wow!
going
So
into it?
going into it, I'm kind of in the same boat as you.
Uh huh.
When I went in, I expected something totally different.
Yeah.
You know, part of for me being a part of the panel was because I expected something different, right? And I wanted to be able to discuss those things that were missing, those things that may have been overlooked, and just kind of bring certain balances to it. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I thought that maybe we were going to see a, golly, it's hard to talk about it without talking about it, right? There were certain things that I expected to see.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I did not see those things.
Well, you can talk about what you didn't see. You can say what you didn't
Well,
see.
no, because some of the people are still thinking, man, maybe it's going to be this, maybe it's going to be that.
That's all right. People talk.
It was no interracial love scene in it.
No, to degree, no.
That was. I'm glad about that.
Yes. Yes.
I discovered in it that it wasn't, as you just talked about, it wasn't a historical. It wasn't based on the history, so to speak, right? I think we'll get into that tonight. You know, when I say it wasn't based on the history, it was a movie, right? It wasn't meant to be a documentary, and I kind of expected some of those historical elements to be in there. So I went in there with that type of feeling. I went in there expecting to see one thing, came out seeing and feeling an entirely different way than when I came in. I'll say that much.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you're gonna go through the night.
It'll be a hard night.
Hey, look, if there's anyone who's watching that feels strongly against
No, stay on. Don't go nowhere.
Okay, stay on.
Don't tell me.
We'll try to. Yeah, we'll do a good job. Not giving. Yeah, we'll be fine. So so basically, whatever your thoughts are, you will be pleasantly surprised. I think based on where your position is.
Yeah, it depends on what your position.
Depends on what your position is. Yeah, you'll.
Some people are not happy.
Yes, yes. Some people are not happy. Go ahead.
And I think that's important, and I'm letting you set the pace, right? But I do think that's important. I do think that it's important that our view is balanced, right? I do think it's important that we hear each other out on both sides, because now we're getting, when we start talking about this movie and discussing this movie, for me, it gets into some deeper issues far beyond the movie.
Okay.
Right? Because now it's gotten into Black male-female relationships.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I think that's important, because with that dialogue, there's a lot that we can unpack and a lot that we can uncover. But I think it's important to have both of those views, right?
Yeah.
And that is balanced.
Yeah. Yep.
Critically important.
Yep. So we're gonna end on that because that's the touchy part, right? The Black male-female relationship. Let's start off with the, in my opinion, obsession. Well, let's start off with the feelings about the fact that the movie was written by white women.
Oh, yes.
Can you please explain that to me? Because as you know, we other people have commented, everything that we look at was written by white people. You know, it's rare. It's happening increasingly now, but it's rare that we actually have box office explosions with works that have been created and written and directed by an all Black. Well, so help me to understand.
I think what's happening with us as a people is we want to tell our own story, right?
Which is fair.
And that is fair, right? Fair. And when someone else is telling our story, we're always going to approach that with a certain feeling of caution. Because how are you going to portray us, right? What is the mindset and the sentiment of the writer of the story? And I think that's critically important, especially when you have a Caucasian woman writing about Black women, writing about Africa. So I think that many of the people who are asking that question, I don't think it's I think it's a legitimate question.
Yes.
But
yes.
I think that it has to be weighed against fully and completely against the actual movie itself, right?
Yes.
And this is part, right? Even going into it, knowing that it was written by a white woman, I approached the movie with caution, right? What is this image that's going to be presented? What's the image of Black women? What's the image of Black men?
Mm-hmm.
What's the image of our people in Africa? What is going to be portrayed? Because our historical context is that whenever they've written about us, right, they said we had, when they told us we were swinging in trees with bones in our noses, running around naked, and in Africa, and this was the kind of picture
mm-hmm.
that they gave us,
mm-hmm.
right, of our own people. So historically, Hollywood has not been our friend.
Yes.
So I get it, I understand it,
mm-hmm.
But I do also, again, we have to look at things objectively, and we have to look at things deeply, and we got to be able to be able to observe and look and make a judgment without prejudice. That makes sense. That's very important.
Prejudice against what? Prejudice against the
when I say prejudice, I'm in the truest sense of the word, prejudge.
Oh, okay. So
right?
without prejudging what it is. Okay.
That's important.
And I can understand, because we do have a history of the story, as you said, being told by white people, right? And it's always being distorted. So I understand that caution, but everything that has been created, for not everything, the majority of work that has been created for us has been done by white people for the most part. Yeah. And so for me, why is this particular one such like why is there a whole boycott for this particular one? And the number one is because it was created by white people, white women, right? Like as I gave an example earlier, Black Panther was not written by Black people. It wasn't, and it's fictional. It's a totally made up story, but we have not seen any form, or I may be wrong, or anywhere near to this degree, the backlash, right, and discontent around even looking at the movie, to the degree that we're seeing with Woman King. So, is it really about the fact that it was written by white women?
You gotta think about the fact that. And I wasn't in marketing room, but my assumption is that there was some thought of the controversy around this movie with the title, right? We haven't got into that, but I think that controversy around the title caused people to look a little deeper, right? Because normally we don't put a lot of emphasis around who writes our story, period, right? And when I say normally, I mean that we go see the movie and we may be a little upset. We may have a couple of questions, but we don't go to the extent that I've seen that has taken place in this movie. The other thing that has to be totally understood is that this was a primarily Black female cast, right? They were the focus.
Yep.
And a dark-skinned Black female cast. I think that has to be taken note, because if we would imagine that this imagery and this projection of these Black women as warriors didn't have some play in our response, right? It's almost like, and this is my opinion, it's almost like, look at them and look at this. It was a white woman that portrayed them this way, right? I think that those things tied together, plus our lack of understanding of history, of what was being portrayed, right, of these warriors, women. So I hope that helps, in terms of my feelings and my thoughts about it. But here's the other thing: write your own story, brothers and sisters. We have to write our own story.
Well, let's even talk about writing our own story, right? And this is what causes me to be a little bit furious, because we have a going narrative right now of give your children the education that makes sure that they're able to graduate and make money, right? Make sure that they study the kind of things that when they go into the world, they can become millionaires, right? They can be making this money. And among the list of subjects that are listed, right, as subject areas that are not important, is African studies, right? I majored in African and African American studies. I taught African and African American studies. And so by the time I was teaching, the majority of students in my class are white people. White people. And so now that I'm a grown adult, oh my gosh, right? And I'm having conversations with people, they are saying, I have conversations with people saying how it is not important. Like, why would I have my child take out a loan to study African studies? Why would I have my child take out a loan to study Black studies, right? It's my history. I already know it, blah, 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 blah. So you have that group, and then you also have the group of Americans, Black Americans. They may be small, but they're quite vocal, who seem to think that they're not from Africa, their ancestry history leads them back to slaves here. It's irrelevant, right? So for me, it is quite interesting that all of a sudden there is this huge interest about this movie that tells a story about African women warriors, right? Now we're talking about let's write our own stories. What stories are we writing if we are not studying them? Like the majority of these people I know, majority of us have never heard of the Dahomey warriors, ever, 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 right? We don't think studying our history is important, but now we want to study our history. If you don't study it in school, where are you going to get this information from? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Well, okay, so let's unpack that.
Yes, right? Please.
Because I think it's several things that are involved in that. Yes. Right? There are those things that you can go to school, you can get educated in, that are nation building skills, right? And from my viewpoint and from what I've studied, those are the skills that we need to focus on, right? Engineering, science, technology, right? Architecture, these type of things, right? And I think you have a group of us who are saying, not necessarily that Black studies are not important or Black history study, African study is not important. What I think that they're saying, and what I understand them saying, is that there are other subjects that we can use as a people to help us advance if we're going to pay for a college education. Now, me personally, I've never got any of my education on the history of our people from college, right? I've got my education from libraries. I've got my education from study. I used to study, just in a personal sense, I used to study so much in school that my teachers would just allow me to leave the classroom to go to the library and study our history myself, right? And I would come back and bring that information to the classroom and sometimes debate the teachers. But the point I'm making is that you can still learn about our people and our history. You don't necessarily have to go to college to learn that. So I'm saying that to say that that's important, because I don't want to dismiss those who are saying that. But what I will say is that when you go to college, when you go to university, and you learn from a more stylistic point of view, right? You're trained how to study. You're trained how to look at the history.
Exactly.
Right? So that is critically important.
Yes.
Two, that if you're going to dismiss the idea of going to school to study, then make sure that you're teaching your children at home. Make sure that you're exposing them to Black history, right? They can't be sitting at home like many of our children just watching YouTube and Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And they're only getting their education and study from the movie.
Yeah, or from
I think that's or from YouTube clips.
Yeah.
Many people are talking about the Dahomey Kingdom, but they're talking about the Dahomey from something they heard on Instagram. They're talking about something they heard from TikTok, something they heard on Facebook. Somebody giving a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute snippet, or you may have watched our YouTube channel. We haven't went back and did our own research.
Exactly.
I think that's critically important because if we're going to argue, I don't have to go to school to study history. Well, Are you studying it on your own?
But that's not happening because the way that argument is being made is in the context of it's not important, right? Focus on what's important. Focus on what is important.
But it's not important.
Well, they don't have to say that. If you are giving credibility to engineering over your own history, then I feel as though that's an automatic devaluing. You're saying, why use your money, right, to study your own history when you can use your money to study to be a scientist and be a doctor?
Well,
and for me, it's both. It has to be both because you can double major, right? You can major in African American studies and be a psychologist. Then it allows you to be a Dr. Umar. You can be a major in African American studies and study science, right? So that when you go into the medical field, you have that awareness, that knowledge, that understanding of your people, your history, and your culture. It's not an either or. It can just be just that. I just studied African studies. I studied history and African studies. But because of that, it allows me to see things differently, to know what things I can approach that will directly impact and affect my community.
I think that you just said something that really takes it all home. It doesn't have to be either or.
It doesn't have to be either or.
It can be both. So I agree with that. But I do disagree with the statement you said when you said they're dismissing. I don't think they're dismissing the study of our own history. I don't think that's what they're saying. It may not be being articulated right, but I think there are very few people that I could approach that would say our history as a people is not important.
The study, two different things.
I think it's very few people that I can approach that would think that the study of our history is not important.
If okay, all right, we'll agree to disagree on that point.
Now I can see them saying we ain't got to go to school for it.
Exactly. So if you don't have to go to school for it, means you don't find it important, right? It's not that important. No?
No, I don't agree with that.
So then what's the alternative that we have in our spaces where we make sure that we learn?
Study, right? You don't have to go to school to study. Okay, let me back it up a little bit. You have people who have learned finances, stock, investment on YouTube, never went to school and are very successful, right? So I'm just using it as an example.
Because we have a culture that makes it important. We don't have a culture that makes study black.
I agree with that.
It's not going to happen if you don't go to school to do it. It's not happening.
I did go to school.
Because you're different. You're
but I'm part of a larger group, and many of us didn't go to school to study Black history.
Okay,
but
you're in the minority.
But it was made important to us.
And you're also in the Nation of Islam, so that doesn't even count.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't even count. Right.
Okay.
Moving on. So the title, all right? So there's the title Woman King, right? There are a lot of people who are hung up about the title, right? The first set of comments around the movie was due to the fact that, hey, we have this title about a movie that focuses on Black women. What is it? What is the agenda? What are they trying to do? What is their message? How dare they? Is it meant to offend? Like what? I'm not asking you to be. Yes.
I got a question for you too.
Okay, what's the question?
Go ahead, ask your question.
Like for me, it's, does it automatically, because as I don't think Black women felt any way by it. Woman King, I know it's off-putting. I'm like, Woman King, okay, let me see what this movie is about. I'm curious, right? Like, okay, well, that's interesting. But it triggered men. Men were definitely triggered, and so. Is it because I'm a female that I'm not triggered, or is it that there's a certain group of men who would automatically be triggered by the title?
I can't answer the first question. The second question, I think, is rooted in excuse me. People don't like this word, but I have to say this word, just a certain level of ignorance, right? That's one part. Why do I say that? What do you call a woman who's a pharaoh?
A who?
A woman that's a pharaoh.
A pharaoh.
Call her a pharaoh. What do you call a man that's a pharaoh?
A pharaoh.
See? So if the name of the movie was Woman Pharaoh, would it trigger?
It wouldn't trigger me. It would trigger men.
I don't know but even if it triggered men,
it's not the same.
This is historical.
Yes.
This is historical. This is a ruler.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when I hear the name Woman King, it does not bother me.
Yeah.
Right. But I do think that, to be fair, we are living in a environment where Black men, rightly so, have felt emasculated. They have felt attacked. They have felt that their manhood has been taken from them. Right. So then to see a movie, Woman King, for me, I can understand men seeing that, some men seeing that title, seeing that title and feeling attacked. But again, here we go. We're getting into the emotion, right? Because for me, I went and studied it. Why is she being called Woman King? Now, the reason why, and historically, and I don't know if we're going to get into that, but historically, the name Woman King that was given, depending on what history you read, doesn't line up with the reason in the movie. These two things are important, right? Because if you study it and you were expecting, like some people expect it, and some people still have a problem. If you were expecting for this movie to be historically accurate, then to use the Woman King is a historically accurate title. And although this was not a movie on the life of Queen Ndinga, right? Although this was not a movie on her life, there was a time in the Benin Kingdom that she was called Woman King. That's historically accurate. You can't tie that to, and you have to go into the history of why. You can't tie that to a feminist agenda.
Yeah.
That's number two. Now, when I watched number one, when I watched the movie, oh God.
Say it.
Golly. I'll say this: the movie explained why the title Woman King was used.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you understand the history of our people, and it's tied in their explanation, because this was inspired on some true things, it's tied in the explanation because in the movie you're dealing with the dynamic of the equality of male and female and being able to rule side by side, which is historically part of our culture.
Part of our culture.
So again, I understand it, the emotion, I understand the initial reaction, but then we have to move past emotionalism, and we have to do some degree of study. And once we do the study, it'll help us.
Yeah.
And in this case, you got to kind of see the movie, and but it triggered me.
It did. It definitely did, and still triggering them.
Yeah.
Still triggering them. And I hear you going back to study as being so important. And I think that should be the overarching theme that our takeaway from this whole experience is really, really highlighting the importance really of being knowledgeable of self and studying our history, so that when we have things like this placed in front of us, we have some knowledge and background. And even if we don't, it's forcing us to do that study. But unfortunately, as you said, even now there are people who are not doing their own studies and listening to people on YouTube, right? And listening to their favorite commentator who is right, who's giving their own perception and perspective on the movie, which is so dangerous because many times what I've found is it's skewed because they have their own platform, they have their audience, and so they are speaking based on the audience that they're speaking to. And so the information is not necessarily credible or true, just overall false for the most part, just straight up false. A couple of days ago, I heard a man going off, really upset. We should boycott Woman King because they try to elevate the Black woman, and they like to tell us that they have matriarchy and patrilineal. He didn't use that word. He said matriarchy in Africa, and no time was there any kingdom, yes, successful kingdom that was run by a woman.
Well, that's not true.
No, that's not true. That's not true. But if you talk to people who don't know anything about the history, of course there are people that think that's true.
Because when you talk about the Benin Kingdom, because this is what it's based on, after Queen Linga, who was called the Woman King, it was 80 years of women ruling after that, right, in succession, and they were successful. They were one of the most successful. But I'm saying that to say that, see, we got to get away from, in my opinion, we have to get away. We can't get into the depth of this movie and what it means. We can't get into the depths of the movie, what it means for women. We can't get into the depths of this movie and what it means for us overall as a people, because we're caught up in the emotions. And I caution us when we go into these podcasts, when we go into the YouTube channel, when we go into these different things, that we don't get caught up on the emotionalism that's being fed into, right? That is critically important because you can't get to the facts. There are many people that are saying what they're saying about this movie who haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it.
I find it very hard to argue with anyone, discuss or debate with anyone about a subject matter that you haven't seen, studied, read for yourself. Right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So my friend John, I'm going to respond to the to your comment, right? And let's dig deep around the emasculation of men, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's now the second a big issue that people have, men mostly have around the movie, right? The emasculation of the Black man. And so they're trying to pointed areas in which they found that happening. Mm-hmm. One, because of, the position of the male warrior within the space.
Okay.
And then I think this Black men, in terms of emasculating them and advancing the narrative of the men in the movie, having a boy around for indiscretions. There was a boy around for...
I didn't see that.
Are you talking about the eunuch? There was a boy around for indiscretion. They're talking about the eunuch.
Did he talk about the eunuch?
No, that didn't exist. It's not in the movie. It's not in the movie. You see, that's what I'm talking about, right? And so he's saying he's had a conversation with someone, and this person urged people to consider that as a reason not to see the movie.
There was a boy around. No, there was no boy around. I think, here we go, right? So there was a eunuch.
What's a eunuch
in the movie?
What's a eunuch?
A eunuch is a male who's been castrated.
A male who's been castrated.
And he is normally, always in charge of the harem, right? The wives, right?
The wives.
So,
yes.
I think that makes sense, right? Any king or ruler who has a harem of beautiful women around him, I think it makes sense historically for them to have a man around who does not have the ability to procreate, right? And I don't know if that's what he's speaking to.
Yeah, because he says, I have not seen the movie, and I'll let you talk on it, speak on it. I have not seen the movie, John is saying, but the person insisted that this was taking place such as the gay narrative of Black men.
No, there was no gay narrative of Black men. There was the eunuch, and the eunuch was feminine.
Very feminine.
If you study the history, that was a natural trait of many eunuchs. Sometimes you see it in movies, sometimes you don't. But biologically, if you castrate a male, right, many of his feminine qualities may come out. So you're talking about the eunuch, brother. And he was a feminine man,
and it is traditional. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
He wasn't a dominant figure in the movie. He was
not at all.
He wasn't a dominant figure.
Yeah, and he barely said one line, two lines. Like he had very few lines. He did not have a prominent role in the movie. And his role was to keep the wives in check. That's what he did. He followed around the first wife, the main wife, who was causing some trouble. Right. And he was, having conversations with her. And when, he would be between the king and the wife. So, to to expand that into saying that there was this gay thing in the movie, you like.
Well, let's talk about Hollywood just a little bit.
Yes,
right?
Go ahead.
In the current atmosphere of Hollywood, it's just be real. There's always in every movie that you see, even the Toy Story cartoon, they talked about. Yeah. I didn't see it, so let me not be guilty of
what. I know what.
But I know in some Muslim countries it was banned, right?
Oh.
So in Hollywood, there's this constant picture of homosexuality that's pushed in just about every single movie whenever they get a chance. So I think that we have to understand that, but it was a very small and minor role. And the reason why I say that is because if you talk about a boy toy, a boy who's kept around for the indiscretion of the men, now that takes away from John Boyega's character and the masculinity that's portrayed in his character. Because now what you're saying is that this great king was engaged in the language, engaging in sexual acts with a little boy. Yeah.
And
that's heavy.
And that's heavy. We're doing that. The movie's not even doing that.
Yeah, the movie's not.
That we're projecting our fears.
You can't get to the movie.
That we're projecting our misconceptions and our fears on something that actually didn't happen on the movie. So yeah, that's not an element. I plan to see the movie. I argued for folks to see the movie at the minimum to support our Black women actresses and the Black supporting cast. Thank you for the clarification. You're most welcome.
That's really important. And I don't know if anybody...
Yeah, we would have had some trouble, John.
We having a discussion. We're not interviewing, right? So I can talk, right?
You can talk. Yes. You may have the floor.
I think that's important.
Yes.
What he just said about a Black woman cast, because you have to understand what these sisters went through. There's an interview that Viola Davis did. I don't know what show it's on, but maybe you can post it so people can see it.
Okay.
But she talked about what they went through as Black women, as dark-skinned Black women, as Black women in their hairstyles, and just
they had to fight for it.
They had to fight for Hollywood. Hollywood not believing that this movie would do well because they didn't believe a dark-skinned, a predominantly dark-skinned female cast could carry a movie internationally. There's a lot going on. With this movie, right? But the sad thing about it, for me, and I'll end on this point, is this turned into a Black male. I know you're getting into this later, but we can do it now. It's turning into this Black male versus Black female thing, right? This gender war thing. And I caution any of us when we talk about gender wars. All wars are funded, right? All wars are promoted by someone who benefits the most from it. And we should look at who benefits the most from us versus each other. Excuse me, just off the controversy of this movie. I just wanted to add that.
It's okay. We have time.
Okay.
We have time.
All right.
And let's talk about this quote unquote gender war. All right. Let's talk about that. Let's say it was planned, right? Let's say that this was a Hollywood plan, right, to make the Black man the agenda, right, to further emasculate the Black man and to elevate the Black woman, right? Now, let's just say that was the plan. Even if they have a plan if that's their intention, let's say that's their intention. We as smart people, right? I would like to think that we are smart. We are smart thinkers, being aware of the society we live in, and that there's always something that tries to create that rift, right? How do we best respond? How do we respond accordingly so that it doesn't seem as though we're falling into the trap, right? Because if we're so smart and we know we're upset because we think it's written by white women, right? And they're doing this to further break us down and break us apart. As Black men, how do you respond? How do you make sure, being the thinkers that you all are, how do we make sure that you do not fall for the trap? Are we doing that right now? Let me know. If that's your fear, what is the right what are the steps that you take to make sure that it's not happening? Because that does not seem as though we're doing that right now.
Can I respond to
Yeah,
that?
sure, go ahead.
I wrote this and I believe this. It's very dangerous that the position of black men in our community can be threatened by a movie.
By a movie.
Now, I'm not saying
Fiction.
that can't happen, but what I am saying is that there should be very real images that pop up in the heads of our women and children in our community that if we are portrayed in any other way than what we are, they would naturally come to our defense, right? They would say that's not true, right? That my man is a strong man, my man is a powerful man. And if we feel like the women in our community are not intelligent enough, not strong enough, not willing to defend us against a Hollywood portrayal in this movie and any other movie, it says a lot about how we are existing as men in our community.
But right? They're not seeing it as that though.
Right. But that's important, right? Because and I said this, right? I have not met a sister yet. I haven't talked to one. I'm not saying she don't exist. That came out of Woman King, feeling like she's empowered over me as a man. I have not heard that, right? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I have not. I did not, as a man, walk out of the movie feeling emasculated, right? I didn't feel like my manhood was taken from me in any sort of way. So I think that the reason I felt that way is because I live a real world existence, right? In my manhood, my fatherhood, who I am as a husband, who I am as a father, who I am as a man, presents itself in a certain way that no movie can compete with the power that I carry, right?
That is deep.
That's how I feel, right? And for us as men to, God, Loie, I was in we do the barbershop discussion.
Yeah.
And we were in a barbershop discussion, and the brothers was talking about some things that were very real, what we face as black men in this country. And they were talking to, we talk about what we go through in the barbershop, and sisters were present. And one of the sisters, when we got done, said, I understand what y'all saying, brother. She said, but she said, as a woman, it's so sad to hear my men, the men talking so weak about what another man, what position another man is putting them in, without having, how do you put this? Without having some sense of power coming behind it. Like, we're men, right? Mm. We have to establish our manhood so that, I'll say it like this, so that when people are looking at, I'm going to use this term, a fairy tale, the fairy tale doesn't threaten the reality.
That's exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I can't as a man constantly put my masculinity, my manhood in the hands of my enemy and expect to see anything different except for my emasculation. We have to have real world black men, black male images in our community on the ground that combat this. I think I'm answering your question. What are we doing? Did I answer your question?
Well, I think you responded to part of it, right? Okay. You responded to one half. The one half being, right, that ownership and accountability of black men, right? As in how it is that a movie, but they have a response for that. How is it that a movie can make them feel so threatened in their manhood, right? What is your position within the community, within your family, within your relationships, that you feel that this movie will further devalue your manhood, right?
That's what I was trying to say.
Exactly, that. Yeah. But it is not done in a way in which they look internally at themselves. Mm-hmm. That is being projected on the woman, right? It's not about the man saying, how is it that this can trigger me so? Oh, no. It's how is it that these women can be so impressioned, right, by this movie that they are going to take advantage of whatever perceived power that they get from seeing African women warriors, right? That can cause women to further devalue the Black man. It's not about the Black man establishing themselves in a way in which they are reaffirming themselves, saying, hey, this is who we are, and this movie can't move us. It is how dare you, and so that's why they're upset with women, right? And that is why they are not taking into account the actual responses of Black women, right? That's because important. And this is where it breaks my heart. I am sad because Black men are not actually having conversations with women who have actually seen the movie to hear why is it that they're excited by the movie, right? They are the mere fact that they see the movie, they see the title, they have their perception, they see the Black women are excited, oh, we are in trouble. How dare they? Why are they excited about this, right? Why are they falling for this ploy that the system is creating against us, right? So completely disregarding, our feelings, because it's not important. How we feel is not important, because your perception of what you think is happening is much more important than the Black woman. And so now it's our fault, right? We cannot think, or we're not smart enough because we are easily impressioned. That's what I was told today.
Oh, you were told that today?
Yep. We were easily impressioned, and I know the person is looking at. And the example they gave, I'm not giving your name. Oh my God, the person did say do not use our conversation as But okay, I'm only going to use this part of the conversation, right? How Stella got her groove back, right? Apparently, which was written by a Black woman, right? How Stella got her groove back. Apparently, a bunch of Black women at that point started making trips to Jamaica and to the Caribbean to have their fun, to get their groove back, right? And so that's an example of Black women being easily impressed upon by culture, by these movies. And so I am still waiting to hear what is the fear? What's the actual fear that men have?
I can't.
What's the fear?
I can't speak.
You think women are going to rise up and
Well, it's kind of hard to become a woman king in America, in particular where your man is not a king on his throne. Right? And I think that's part of what we're dealing with. Are women impressionable? Well, Hollywood has the ability to make impressions on everyone.
On all of us. And it is impression. We are all, yes.
So with that being said, there always has to be a guard up, right? Whenever we're watching a movie, wherever we're exposed to the imagery that's put in front of us, we should always be guarded, right?
Yeah.
Because there is always the chance that a certain impression is being made. Now, are women more impressionable than men? I can't speak to that, right? Because I see us equally falling for the same tricks. It's kind of hard for me to speak to this because a lot of it I don't necessarily agree with. I'll say this. I'll say it like this. There is a cultural war that is taking place. Now, to this point, we have to say that we are aware. Once we are aware, then again the responsibility falls on us, right? And because that responsibility falls on us and that level of consciousness falls on us, then we have a certain duty and responsibility. I lost my thought.
That's fine.
That's very rare.
But
I lost my thought.
Yeah.
But what I think I'm trying to say is that we have to do our due diligence to create the atmosphere in our community that we're looking for, right? We have to be very intentional about the atmosphere that we're. That's what I was going to say. This is what I was going to say. You said something very powerful, and that's why I lost my thought, and that's why I had this spirit out here. Because you said something that touched me. You said that this missing of the thinking of Black women. Mm-hmm. See, this the part that makes me sad, right? Because when I hear women talk about what this movie meant to them, I think it's critically important as men, as their brothers, as their husbands, that we hear that voice, right? And that we acknowledge it. What's happening is that we're dismissing the thoughts or the feelings of our women and where it came from. Because what this movie did was tap into something. It tapped into a certain power that women are trying to gain that's being denied to them. And our response puts us in a position where we look the same as the enemy that's trying to take power, respect, and protection from our women. And that's not our role. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm sorry, y'all. Mm-hmm. But that touched me, and even as I talk about it, it's painful. Because now, once again, we as Black men, if this was the game plan, if the game plan was to divide and conquer,
even if
we have fell directly into that trap. We have not escaped it. And instead of us being able to have open and honest dialogue with our sisters, we are now in a position where it's like, look, it's either our way or the highway on both ends. Mm-hmm. So then we're further divided.
We're further divided. And
took me a long time to get to that. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Oh my gosh, there's so many things, so many thoughts going on in my head, and in response to this subject, this topic. I'm gonna go to my friend's comment, but in response to what you said, and listening, right? There's this fear that in dismissing the woman, right? I feel as though we have this desire, not we, but some Black men, right? Have this desire of being able to establish their position that is similar to the white male, right? And that kind of goes in response to the accusation of feminism, right? Because the big part of masculinity is the emasculation of the Black man and the emasculation of the Black man, but you masculine.
Just make it work. You masculinize. Put that in the dictionary.
Emasculating Black men, right? But you're making the Black woman much more masculine, right?
But that didn't happen in the movie.
That's the argument that is being made.
So now you're dealing with Black women. You're dealing with a deeper issue. Go ahead. But I'm just saying that wasn't. But that's important. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Because that wasn't in the movie. I didn't see when you look at what's the main Viola Davis's main character, when you look at her right hand man, it was a brother who was a powerful warrior who was by her side.
Yeah.
Right? And there were many powerful warriors. As a matter of fact, when you watch the movie, you see the men and the women fighting side by side. Yeah. You have golly, I wanted to get into the scene, but you have scenery that showed these women as being warriors who fought side by side with their men.
Yep.
There was no emasculation. Now, when it got into a lot of the dynamics of the fighting scene, you seen the prowess of the women warrior, but that's because the movie was about them.
It was about
them. Yes. But you seen the strength of these Black men as warriors portrayed in this movie. There was not a emasculation of Black men in this movie, right? I think that's critically important, and also it has to be understood, not just the undertone of why you had a woman king in that African kingdom, right? But it also has to be understood what was the meaning of this movie itself, right? It wasn't the exaltation of black women above black men. Let's look at the movie. When you look at the movie, it was the lifting up this black woman. Now, mind you, she didn't have to be the woman king.
She didn't.
It could have been a more feminine woman in the movie that could that wanted to be woman king. Yep. What it was the raising of the status of women in this kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? And what we're dealing with as a community is the need to raise the status of black women. Now I gotta say this. We live in a world where and don't get me wrong, but the Cardi B's, the Meg Thee Stallions, right? This imagery of black women as that's hypersexualized is put out for the world to see. Mm-hmm. And really in truth, more of a subjugated image of black women, right? So then here you come with this movie, and this movie, this is really what I want to get into, right?
Yeah.
This movie elevates the status of black women. Here's a black woman that's a strategist. Here's a black woman that's helping to guide the direction of the kingdom. She didn't have a voice louder than the king.
No.
And even when she approached the king in this humble type of, she had a warrior garment on, but she approached the king in this humble type of submissive manner.
Yep.
To say, what is your wish?
Yep.
Right? Let me help lift our kingdom up together. I think for me, and there was a lot in the movie, don't get me wrong, but for me, the overarching image that I seen was not an image of black women who were emasculating their men, but instead black women who were fighting side by side and lifting up the black man. When I can't say stuff that's in the movie. I can't talk about the movie if I can't talk about the movie. Go see the movie, right? But there was a point in the movie where I gotta say this. I'm sorry, y'all.
Say it.
Where she declared the power of her king, not just in front of other Africans, but speaking to the European. She declared the power of her king, and that her king did not fear any man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then you even have points in the movie where the black king told the white slaver,
yeah,
you don't. He told the white slaver in words, y'all. I ain't gonna tell y'all the movie, but he told him in words, you don't determine my kingdom. You don't determine my kingship. I'm a king whether you recognize me or not.
It was quite clear who was in charge.
And it was quite
clear from everybody in that space.
So brother,
who was in charge?
We have to be able to. I guess for me, that's them the parts I held on to, right? Maybe I missed something. Those are the parts that I held on to. Now, was the black man in the movie given the best image? I got to be honest. No. He wasn't given the best image in terms of the some of the main characters. They weren't main characters. In terms of some of the minor parts, right? There were some things you wouldn't want to see that kind of made you cringe as a black man. But the overarching thing for me, that the black man was the power. He was.
That was clear.
He was the ruler.
Yes.
He made the decision.
And he had the support of the women, right?
Oh, they supported him.
They supported him. Like, there was no part where you would feel as though the women fought for or wanted to challenge his position. And that's where I feel goes back to our men, right? If for some weird reason they feel as though their position as men will be challenged by black women being empowered. What is so triggering about a movie that empowers black women? Like what pops up into a man's head when they think about that word connected to black women? Because when black women see that movie, they're not walking away from, oh my gosh, these are examples of Black women trying to overthrow their Black king.
No,
right?
no.
It's not examples of, oh, these are women overruling, right? And losing their position or understanding of who's in charge. That is not the takeaway in the movie. So, what exactly is the fear in the minds of the men?
You know, I've tried to get into that, that thinking. I think, and I'm just saying because I try to get in the mindset. I think the effeminized eunuch. I think brothers take issue with that. I get that. I think that seeing a Black man who is giving away his daughter, right, allows another man to I'm gonna say disrespect or manhandle his daughter. I think that I think brothers are looking at the rape scene. I'm naming these things, right? Because I watched and I said to myself, I want to see what other Black men are seeing, right? I get those things. But at the same time, I had to also look and fairly and balance and say, wait a minute, on the other side of this are powerful Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And these characters that are not the best representation of Black men are minor characters, meaning they had maybe a 1 or 2 minute part, maybe had 1 or 2 lines
mm-hmm.
in the entire movie,
mm-hmm.
right? So I try to understand it, but what I do think is that Black men right now, that they've been triggered. I think we've been triggered, brother. And I put myself in that, right? But not really. We've been triggered, and our response is a trauma response, right? It's kind of like it's irrational, right? And when I say it's irrational, and I'm not dismissing my brothers. I just think that we have made everything to be one thing, and what I mean by that is anytime that in any way that that the Black man doesn't look like he's the absolute power, period, when he's standing next to a Black woman, then that means that he's been emasculated. And I think that's a trauma and an irrational response because that's not what took place in the actual movie.
Mm-mm.
And I think it's very important. I think it's very important that we deal with what actually took place in the movie.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to read the comments. Thank you for your comments. I want to read them, but I think what this movie did and continues to do is, and I've said this before, is raise to the surface the underlying tension that exists within the community. Right? This movie like really brought to the surface what the issues are, right? And I think that it should be used, right, to not only better understand our history, but also dig deep to understand what it is going on between the Black man and the woman, right? Why really is quick. It that, like, yes, like we need to move the conversation forward from, oh, it's written by 2 white women. Please, that's not our issue right now. It really is not our biggest issue right now, right? Move it forward from, oh, the title. Okay, I understand the title is triggering, but why is it triggering, right? Move it forward from, okay, these other subtopics that we think is important, and really dig deeper and try to have the conversation as to why is it that it's leading to this kind of fracture and misunderstanding between the two.
And I'll tell you why I say real quick, because what you said is dead on. I say that we need to see it really quick. It's because Black women are coming to power. And what this movie said to me, overarching, is that Black women are coming to power, right? And I know you said you didn't quite like this, but Black women are coming to power to destroy our oppressor and put Black men in their proper place.
Yeah.
You didn't like this?
I don't like that part.
Okay, as rulers, and that she will rule side by side with us. I think that's a worldwide. Some may not agree. This is my opinion. I think that's a worldwide message that's being sent in this movie, right? To the absolute danger of powerful Black women who want to see their people liberated and free.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's what happened in the movie.
Yeah.
Here's a Black woman who came to power. Black women put to death our oppressors, and then returned back to the Black man, the king, and lifted him up in power by crushing his enemies.
No, so for me, it's maybe my thinking is limited, right? In bringing the Black man into power, but I see it more so as the elevation of the Black woman, so that we can really function together.
You can't have one
within that balance.
You can't. The Black woman. Here we go. We might disagree, y'all. Get your bicycle. You got your glove. You cannot have a Black woman who's empowered and becomes powerful without Black man also riding. If she's a conscious Black woman, she knows who she is. It is natural. It's only natural that when she comes into power, that she brings her man into power with her. And let me tell you why. Because our enemies understood something. And we got to take it back to the beginning. Our enemies understood that the only way that they could get power over Black nations was to destroy the Black man. So the effort was to destroy the Black man and take control and power over the Black woman. And you find it consistently throughout the history. Any strong male voice, any strong Black man in the world that has ever stood up in the presence of our oppressor has been killed. And most of the time he's killed very publicly. So this is the true essence of the emasculation of the Black man, to kill any powerful Black man and become the provider, the protector of his woman. This has been consistent in our history for nearly 500 years. The white male has been the power. So the only way that Black women can gain power and maintain power in their empowerment is if the Black man is empowered right along with her.
Well, no, I'm looking at Victoria's comment.
Where you at, Victoria?
I know, right? Where are you at? She needed to work alongside the Black man in her. Wait, no, that's not it. I like to see it as Black women are reclaiming power. Well, because we historically have seen Black women as leaders. So reclaiming power. Now, I'm going to agree to what you say in elevating the power of the Black man, because the way he is at right now,
got to be picked up.
He has to be picked up.
Oh,
man,
oh yeah.
Look, I am saying this only because I'm observing your responses to a movie. A fictional movie. You clearly don't see yourself in any established position. You are telling me that you don't see yourself in any established position.
That's heavy.
Because you're freaking out over a feminine man that has one line, two lines, right? And you're freaking out over women who are warriors. Mind you, we have the balance, we have the wives, and mind you, the warriors were still submissive. But we're freaking out over that. So clearly you see yourself not having any position, right? So if we're talking about elevating the Black woman,
she has to be.
He has to be picked up, because
it's a balance, right? And this is so important. I think and I see something deeper. Let me say that right off the jump, right? And as a student of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I hold very close to me his words where he said that 75% of the work is with the woman, right? And he made great emphasis on the role of women. Women have to understand their power over men.
We don't
this
understand.
Is very, very
we don't
critical.
Understand. We don't understand.
And when a woman has a certain mindset, she naturally produces in her man, encourages her man, strengthens her man to face the world as he should. It is a natural influence that the Black woman has over the Black man. And if he knows that she will only accept a certain power, a certain strength, and a certain role, then he will work, he will strive, he will do everything he can to try and fulfill that vision that she has of him. This is critical to understand. Again, I see something deeper in the movie. I see a signal being sent out, right? And let me tell you something. Those who are in power understand that the moment that the Black woman developed this mindset that we will no longer accept the rule of our oppressor in any way, even if you dismiss all the men that exist right now, she'll produce children. She will produce children that will be rulers. She will produce children that will fight against any enslaver mentally or physically. I mean, this is to me, this is critically important. And I think as men, we really have to sit back and observe what's happening with our women. Because I'm telling you, and some of y'all don't agree with this, I've been on this personally since the slap heard around the world. If you look from the time
Will Smith slap, she's talking about
the time Will Smith, whether you agree with it or not, from the time he slapped Chris Rock over what Chris Rock's the perceived disrespect of his wife, there's been a certain level of attention that have been on Black women, their power, their image, their role has been constantly inconsistent. And I can go down the line all the way up to the other day where you seen T.D. Jakes install his daughter as the new head of his church.
That's big.
There's some powerful stuff going on with Black women, and if we don't, it's not anything for us to fight against, brothers, because it's in our favor. Because here's the reality. At the end of the day, even with the frustration that our sisters feel toward the Black woman is frustrated and hurt by it because she loves us. That's the root of it. And what have we done with that love? How have we treated that? So that's the root of it. But if we watch what's happening with her, it's something good happening with the rise and the empowerment of Black women as it relates to us. Because she ain't going to come into power without me. I'm going to be right by her side. Defending and protecting. Because as much as we love the women warriors, what are they?
They're Goji.
As much as we love the Goji, they were few. The dominant fighting force were men.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is important. I think it's important because, God. It were white women that wrote this movie, and I get it. But I want us to understand that there are elements in Hollywood that work against us, but there are some elements in Hollywood that work for us, that understand what we are to become as a people, and they try to feed that. So maybe I'm going too deep.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'm going.
But look, but there is some. There could be some truth to that, because look,
absolute truth.
Because the movie in of itself,
it's absolute truth to it.
I can't see it being so detrimental, because again, we had this conversation, a group of us. What is your response to the movie? How do you take it? And for me, there is so much more positivity that can be taken out of it. as a woman. Maybe as a man, no.
Well, I walked away with a lot of positivity.
But
it's not. It's. Oh, go ahead.
No, and giving in speaking to your comments about
I see something deeper.
Hollywood. Okay, what do you see deeper?
No, I'm saying it. I'm commenting. I don't want to interrupt your comment. I do see something deeper. Yeah. See, here's what. Let me say it like this.
Hi, Quanta.
Some. I gotta go deep on y'all. I may be going too deep. You might have to really think about.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the time. But you go ahead.
What I'm saying, right? We talk about telling our own story, but let's just face the reality. Our story has not been told, and we've been talking about telling our own story for as long as we've been in Hollywood, right? And we fought every inch of the way to try to get our story told. The creator has to get involved, and he has to get involved in a way that he uses those who would be against us to help us. This is what I mean when I say there are some in Hollywood that are for us, but then there are some against us, but then there are some that are absolutely for us. And in some instances, they don't have even any control over what they do. In other words, they may mean a thing for one thing, but it turns out to be something else. This is critical, right? And to look at this storyline for me, I said it once and I say it again, I see this as being a story of the future of what to expect. What to expect from an empowered warrior Black woman. What do you expect from this kind of woman? What will she produce? She will not produce a world like the world that exists. They went in there, they destroyed everything that wasn't in line with I'm saying it's coded because some of you ain't seen the movie. But they destroyed everything that wasn't in line with the thinking of freedom and the thinking of independence and the thinking of power. They destroyed it all. And then brought back to the king the symbolism of the victory. And when they brought it back to a wise king, brother, a wise, balanced, intelligent king, the first thing he did was exalt the woman to a position of power equal to him, side by side. And this is, he said, I got to say this part. He said, it's a shared vision.
Shared vision.
See, we have to, this movie to me speaks to a lot of things. We have to share a vision. Now, why are these white women telling us we got to share a vision?
I know, right?
You keep telling me about,
That's why I said we need to move past the obsession that's driven by white people, because it makes no sense.
We got a right to feel the way we feel about white, but we got to look at what happened.
This movie.
Right? Why are they telling us, they giving us a message? This message with white people that was in the theater with us, they were leaving.
Yeah.
Probably because y'all were clapping, cheering.
It was fun in that theater. If you were not there.
Clapping and cheering.
It was fun.
The white folk got up and they left, right? Because the message wasn't for them. The message of empowerment, the message of unity. This was in the movie. The message of empowerment, the message of unity, the message of the power of our culture. All of that, the power that our women possess when they understand who and what they are and what they are to do. You say, oh, she rebelled against the king. No, she understood something that he couldn't see.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that with our women. Sometimes they see and understand something that we cannot see. And you may think, oh, she stepped out against me. Well, what's the end result? Because if she stepped out against you, then how did what she do end up benefiting you? She didn't come back and say, now I'm taking over the kingdom. She came back humble. Said, whatever you got for me, that's what I accept. And again, a wise, here it is, brother, a wise, intelligent king with vision was able to see and exalt his woman to the right position. Now, what are we seeing? What are we doing? We're still not mature enough, not wise enough, not intelligent enough as men that we don't see our women as being or see ourselves putting our women in a position now of power that's side by side with us, we still want to put her in a position of subjugation, even in doubting her intelligence. That she's not, all this consciousness out here, all this teachings out here, all that's going on out here, our women aren't intelligent enough to sit in a movie theater and watch a movie and say, you know what? I see that, I see this, and I see that, and I know that may not be, but I'm gonna put that over to the side. I'm gonna focus on this that benefits our people. And then I'm gonna say this other thing. Though the dominant portrayal, when you see all of the Hollywood the marketing is this strong, but when you watch the movie, these women were feminine.
Crying all the time.
It's crying all the time, but feminine things. I cry too sometimes. I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yes.
but all jokes aside, you seen the femininity and the beauty of the femininity of these women coming out. But then when it was time to fight,
they were ready.
They were ready.
Ready.
I want a woman like that. Look, I'm about to go pick a fight today, Sister Erin, to see how you do. Let's see the warrior come out.
Be ready.
Listen, let me tell you something. And when and let me tell you the other thing that you've seen in the movie, because I don't want to talk. I want to talk about this. You seen the love that the black woman had for her man in the movie. Which
part?
All through it.
Because they're not seeing it. Like
you don't want me to talk about the movie. But let me tell you something. They didn't let no man come in between them and their king.
Yeah.
They didn't let no man come in between them and the love. What did they say?
Don't do it, brother. It might be too much to handle.
Yeah, they didn't see any man come in between the love that they had for their kingdom. They wanted to see the black man free. They wanted to see the black man empowered, and they were trying to guide and direct the black man in a way to show him you don't have to oppress, enslave your own people to be powerful.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't have to be an enemy of yourself. See, that's what I seen in the movie. Yeah. Now, everybody didn't see that. Some people seen Woman King. I don't even want to. That don't even inspire me anymore to have that discussion, because now we got to get into the deeper parts of the movie and the imagery and the messaging. Because now you said it's going to show up in Guyana on the 30th.
Yep, in 3 days.
It's going around the world,
and Nigeria too. Same day, 30th, Nigeria and Guyana.
So then it's a deeper message going around the world, brothers and sisters, about the power that we have that's represented. That's held down, that's pushed by black women. And these black women weren't trying to be with the oppressor. Let's be clear. In no way, no how, even when the opportunity arose, they didn't show you no scene of these sisters falling and they made an insinuation at one part, but they didn't show you these sisters in any way falling. And even in that part, when you get to another part, bye-bye.
Bye.
You go your way, I go my way. I'm going with my people. Yeah. So, how long did you? I'm sorry.
Well, I know why you're apologizing. You do your thing and then apologize. So I just want to really great comments. So Kwanzaa said, I love how the wicked weren't allowed to avail and continue the status quo. I felt challenged. I'm not letting anything racist or sexist slide that makes its way to my life. Time's up. Sweeping stuff under the rug and us just letting people abuse us financially, mentally, etc. Okay. All right. I need a longer overview from Brother Trumikas. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can't talk about we gotta. It's
yeah, he can't.
This is a deep movie.
It's deep. It's really deep.
Let me say this. I would say to anybody that hasn't seen the movie, go to the movie and put on your spiritual cap. Put on your spiritual lens.
I say go in with an open mind. But you carry on.
Yeah. Open mind.
Open mind.
But put your spiritual eye on, right? And really try to see the depth. Now some of the brothers are gonna say, I've seen the depth, right? No, brother, go back see it again, and do like I did. Let's be fair, right? I look to see in the movie, well, what do my brothers have a problem with? Right? Let me review this movie in my mind because I want to see what they really have a problem with. Excuse me. I want you to go back, brother. And I want you to review in your mind, and you go to the theater. I want you to review in your mind, well, wait a minute. What were those things that empower our people and empower men in the movie? Then that's what I want you to do. I think this is fair. I want you to pull out your scale, brother and sister, and I want you to weigh on your scale the good as opposed to the bad. Now, even God, for those of us who believe in judgment, he said that he puts your deeds on the scale. And if your good outweighs your bad, then you find yourself worthy of the kingdom. Mm. Right? So when I look at the movie, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Weigh it. And see if you see in the movie some of the things that I'm sharing with you right now. And if you see some of those things that I'm sharing with you right now, then explore the possibility. I know everybody don't agree with this. Explore the possibility that even when we think, so you can't think that God is involved in a movie if you don't think that you are important enough for God to be involved. Does that make sense? Okay, let me say it again. Let me make it make sense. We have to see the level of importance of us as a people.
Okay.
That our Creator would be interested in our affairs in this modern times. I'm going somewhere. So you can look at us, and you can look at the oppression we're going through. You can look at the inequality, injustice in the world for us throughout the diaspora. Then you got to ask yourself, is the Creator looking at this as well? And does he have a future for us bigger than what we're experiencing? And how does he get us there? And when you ask yourself that question, then you got to ask yourself a more specific question, particularly in this case, I'm holding it in. What is the role, importance, and value of our women to get us there? And what mindset do the women need to have for this to happen? Because a new predominant idea and thinking has to, remember you talked about the way women dressed and yes. A new, Final Call said it. How did that title go? A new mind, a new woman, a new world.
Hey, Sesima. Okay, so she's saying, I thought the movie was great, but I'm not happy how the men were portrayed. I felt inspired as a woman, but the men in this movie were, so she felt they were emasculated.
You got the eunuch. I talked about
the
that
eunuch,
earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
You have the father and how he treated his daughter without going into detail.
Yes.
How he allowed another man to treat his daughter. You do have that. So you do have some instances in the movie where you can sit back and say, "Oh well, this was some emasculation going on."
But for me,
my argument is,
go ahead.
My argument is these are not the dominant images
or theme of the movie.
Dominant image or theme of the movie, but I'm gonna even say dominant image.
Image, okay, yes.
Yeah. But as a man, if I felt some kind of way, it would stand out to me and probably overpower anything else in the movie. Because I will always be looking through it to see for that to change.
Yeah.
Now, I see the change of that image portrayed in the king.
The king, yeah.
And in the warrior that was her right-hand man.
Yeah.
And in the warriors that fought side by side.
Yeah. And again, there's balance. I feel there's balance throughout the movie, right? And I'm seeing it as creating a storyline. No, there are different ways in which she could have ended up where she ended up, right? But I see it as a development of a storyline. So I did not.
I don't think it should be dismissed. I think it should be paid attention to.
Yeah.
I think all of it should be paid attention
but how it ended with the king's role and position being upheld throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. That's why I say there's that balance, right? Mm-hmm. You had those elements of emasculation. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with that, but yes, I'm gonna acknowledge it, right? So you had those elements, but again, I saw there was balance in that. Wasn't consistent throughout the movie.
It wasn't. Some people compared it to The Color Purple, which the emasculation of black men in The Color Purple was horrible, right? Some of y'all fans of color, you're like, what is he talking about? Like, I just started a whole nother discussion. But it didn't rise to that level, in my humble opinion. That's my opinion. It didn't rise to that level. But I do think it should be noted. I'm not dismissing it. Yeah. But I noticed it. It stood out to me.
Quante says, I felt it wasn't male-centered, which is rare and what I'm familiar with what yeah. Well, the movie is about the women, right?
Yeah, right.
So I would understand it not being male-centered.
I didn't take from it Woman King. I didn't take from it to be that it was supposed to be a male-centered show, a movie. So no, it definitely wasn't male-centered. I can agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, okay. And I know John has been saying a few things. There's another comment and then we're going to start wrapping it up. He says the love from a black woman is like no other. Men of all platforms have always recognized this, or I didn't know that, or have tried to destroy that. Yeah. Women that destroy that woman when she no longer loves him as only a black woman could.
Mm. And there's nothing in the world like the love of a black woman. And everyone has coveted the love of the black woman. I was watching this sister. She was in Turkey, I think. She did this video how I'm treated as a black woman in Turkey, and they were going crazy over her. Like, she had the afro, beautiful dark skin, right? No offense to my light skin sister. Don't get me wrong. I'm just describing this particular sister, right? And remember, even the slave owner, all the way up to Thomas Jefferson, coveted the love of black women. Black women's love is very empowering. And I'm not talking about an emotional thing. I'm talking about the power. Maybe we have another show about the power you possess.
Can we have a show about that? Because as women, we don't, because we're in a society that devalues us or do not show us, like, or uplift us.
Yeah,
so we might have to have a conversation about that.
Because see, let me tell you something. And
do you guys agree? We should have a conversation about black women.
I'm gonna put this in context, right? Because it ain't. When I say the intelligence and the love of a black woman, I'm not talking about education. Because grandmama, when she didn't have an education coming up off the plantation, her love was empowering. And her intelligence is still unmatched to this day. So there's something unique about black women. And I'll say it like this. You would not have anything of value in the world, including human life itself, except it came through the womb of a black woman. All human life comes from her. She is the origin of life itself, right? And what is the level of intelligence that is naturally in her, right? She is the womb that produces God. She is the womb that produces power. She is the womb that produces divinity, right? Mm. And rulership around the world, right? And there's been a concerted effort around the world to take control of the power of black women. There was and I don't know how true it was, but I've seen it, and it's been circulating around social media. And it was this white gentleman. I think he's some high up, powerful white man. He was talking about the melanin in black women and the power of that melanin. We can get into melanin another time. But he was saying, and we want it. We want it. See, the black woman is coveted, brother said it, on every platform. She's the true standard of beauty. Why is she the true standard of beauty? Because you look at these Angelina Jolie's and you look at all of these Kim Kardashian. They try to get the thick lips. They try to get the big behind. They try to get the curves. All the stuff that you naturally born with on a physical level, they're trying to get it. But what they're attracted to on the physical level comes from something deeper, more divine, and more powerful. That's way beyond the physical. So Black women need to really be reacquainted. That's my last thing I'll say. Black women really need to be reacquainted more than ever with their creator. Because it is your creator, sister, that gives you the true and the clearest picture of who and what you are. You are not the woman of man. You are the woman of God. You are the woman of your creator. And to the degree that you are not connected, or we're not connected, our sisters are not connected with him or your creator spiritually, with God spiritually, to help lead and guide you in your life, is to the degree that you suffer. Because if you're not connected to your creator, then you're connected with your man in some way. And your man has been absolutely destroyed.
Yes.
Sister Erin need a repair. Oh, Sister Erin on there?
Yeah, she's been commenting.
What?
Yes.
What's she say?
So that's his wife. Minister Farrakhan said that racism would die out before sexism. So in that light, I could understand negative reactions after viewing the film and being triggered. Yes, yeah. She said good point. She was supporting
my wife.
She was supporting you.
Let me tell you something.
Men are probably by that's somebody else. Okay, go ahead.
Let me tell you something. My wife, and when I listen to her, and I hear what's coming out of her mind, it's wisdom that feeds my soul. Right? She gets to a certain point, man, and I think she's an example of what women can become. She gets to a certain point when she's in a certain zone. I can't do anything but sit back and listen to the wisdom that comes out of her. They help guide me as a man. And I'm speaking very personally, because some people look at Brother Schmicky. I have my wife to thank for much of the growth and development in my life. The other person, I'm not just saying this, that shared deep wisdom with me from the time I was a baby, with my mother. So women, my wife and my mother, have been instrumental. I'm saying this to my brothers. They have been instrumental in my growth and development. Now, I take it a step further. Inside the Phoenix LLC, most of what I'm surrounded by is women. And all of the leadership outside of myself are women. And it's been those women who have been instrumental in my growth and development into leadership as a man. You have to learn, brother, to listen. You have to learn to look beyond the physical attraction of our women. Am I taking it?
Last words.
Okay. You have to learn to look beyond the physical attraction of our women. And we have to learn, as I told the sister, we have to learn to look for the divinity in our women and do whatever we can to try and feed that divinity. Because I said it earlier, there's benefit in it for her, but when she comes into her proper role as nurturer, as mother, she gives us something. She aids us in our own growth and development into power as men. And when it happens that way, you develop a certain wisdom that causes you to end the same way as the king did in that movie and recognize her as your equal that sits next to you in rulership. This is critically important that we understand, because if we don't understand it, then it's not that if we don't understand it, brothers and sisters, we won't be part of the future.
All right, closing words.
That's it.
That's it. All right, well, we have to wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this conversation. Thank you very much for contributing, even if you've seen it or not. If you have not, we implore and advise and request that you do see it, because there's so much more you can take away from it. And Brother Chumikas, of course, thank you very much for joining me on this program and being part of this discussion. It's so important. I think there's so much more that we can say, and I think we have we have other shows. We have other shows definitely that needs to be done. So I appreciate everyone, and feel free to continue sharing your comments with me. Thank you everyone who's joined. Oh, you are so welcome, Sister Ma. You're so welcome. Yes.
Can I say this?
Okay, he wants to say something.
I will be speaking October 1st and October 2nd.
This
weekend for the dedication of the Shrine of the Mayat. If you want more information on that, it is on my Facebook page, the flyer. Please come out and support.
I'm excited about that, actually. Yeah, I don't know why I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
The theme is Black education and unification.
Black education, unification. So the Shrine of the Ma'at. For those of you who are not familiar, if you're so the Ma'at, it's the Ma'at, right? Yeah. It is a Egyptian. Is it Egyptian? Kemet? That's a Kemet, right? It's a Kemetic religious or spiritual practice, right? It is the origins of much of what we know as religion. And so they are opening. Can I say this? Okay, so they're opening a Shrine of Ma'at in Phoenix, Arizona. And so they have this full weekend of amazing speakers and events happening. And so Brother Chumikas is going to be speaking there. So more information is going to be on his page. He has a flyer on his page. If you want to hear him speak in person, really, this is your opportunity. There'll be others, but this is your opportunity if this is going to be an event that you'd be interested in. So thank you, everyone. And I will be back on. I know I say this every week, or the week that I'm actually on, but we're working on consistency. We're working on consistency. Okay. Please. I'm going to start saying this now because I'm taking it really seriously now. Please go to my YouTube page. Even if you watch me on Facebook. I love my Facebook family. I love Facebook. But we need to also build up on YouTube. So the Sarabo Lifestyle, that is my YouTube channel. That's where this goes. All the live videos will be is posted there. They are posted there. So feel free to just go and just subscribe. Just subscribe. Even if you don't watch me there, that's fine. But I appreciate your support. So thank you for another great evening. We will be back and enjoy the rest of your week. Please share his page with me so I can support. Yes, I will. I'll share his page because he posts some really interesting stuff. So not a problem. Thank you, Victoria. Sorry you couldn't join us, but
we miss you, Victoria. I was looking forward to it.
I know. We're looking
wish you the best. I hope everything is good.
So we'll have some more conversations for sure. All right then. So bye everybody. Enjoy.